Early access is something I've wanted to get involved with for a while now, but never really got around to it. On this show, we take a look at games that haven't made it to a full release just yet. At the end of my analysis, I'll either recommend the game as it is, tell you to wait, or dismiss it altogether. Today's game is WRACK, which we'll take a look at after the intro. WRACK is a cel-shaded, futuristic first-person shooter developed by Final Boss Entertainment. The first time I heard of WRACK was just before attending QuakeCon 2013. The dudes over at Final Boss had a demo of the game running in the Bring Your Own Computer section, but unfortunately, strings got crossed and I was never able to check it out. Fast forward to QuakeCon 2014 and hey, look at that! Final Boss had their very own vendor table in the exhibitor hall with a nearly complete, playable demo. After interviewing one of the game devs and checking the game out for myself, I knew I'd be doing a video on WRACK. Ladies and gentlemen, WRACK only cares about being one thing, and that's fun. This shooter ain't about custom classes, character perks, killstreak, airdrops, experience-based leveling systems. Hell, it doesn't even have a reload feature. This is an old-school, first-person thrill ride devoid of all the artificial features that often muddy shooters today. Gameplay is all about pointing and clicking. The more bodies you drop, the more points you rack up. Nailed it. Much like other arcade-style shooters, WRACK employs a combo system that rewards the player for getting multiple kills in a row. The sound that plays as the chain is continued encourages you to keep climbing. But apart from running and gunning, the player must also be mindful of ammo and health strewn about the game. Because of the game's rapid pacing, resources are abundant, but the player tends to breeze through them pretty easily. And really, the pacing is what pulls a game like this off. Your character runs incredibly fast and shoots with near-perfect accuracy. It's a game made by and for adrenaline junkies. I don't care what Kotaku thinks, there's still a market for the hardcore twitcher outside of Call of Duty. I'm one of them. As I said before, WRACK has a cel-shaded art style that sets it apart from the commonplace brown and gritty shooters of the modern world. Not only that, but it waves an extended middle finger to today's collectible secrets. Secret items in WRACK are hidden in plain sight, openly challenging the player to find a way to attain them. You'll certainly be racking your brain to find these. Okay, I'll stop. Designing an arcade shooter like WRACK comes with its share of problems. Firstly, investing the player in any sort of narrative is pretty difficult. When you're zooming along, killing baddies, you become accustomed to the fast pacing, and trying to slow down when the story interrupts is jarring at best. Secondly, the AI is pretty static. They serve little more purpose than a cheap prop, and when I shoot them, I feel like I'm putting a brain-dead horse out of its misery. Even the bosses feel this way. My only other real gripe is missions repeating themselves. See, isn't that annoying? Anyways, the level design gets repetitive on occasion. Go press 2 buttons on this diverging pathway. Okay, now go press 2 more buttons on these diverging pathways. It's one of those things that most people don't really care about, but it easily gets under my skin. WRACK is only 15 bucks. It's a game you can't really go wrong with if you want a good old-fashioned thrill ride. Not perfect, not a lot of replay value, and certainly not an innovator, but also not boring. WRACK is fun, and that's all it wants to be. It's cheap, it moves fast, and it has a pretty face. You could do a lot worse for the money, believe me. My final recommendation is to pick up WRACK when it's released in a few weeks. Perhaps by then some of its early access kinks will have been worked out. If you do plan to pick up WRACK, let me know in the comment section below. I'll send you a 25% off code to get the game at a reduced price. Next up on early access is the survival horror game known as The Forest. Until then, keep it real, guys. Feel free to like my Facebook page for behind-the-scenes material, and follow me on Twitter for general channel updates.